Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast. My name is Melissa, and this is Sammi. We are diving deep into conversations that connect and inspire. Stories of resilience, triumph, and transformation. Stories that take us to the heart of human connection. Please note that opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect those of this podcast. Please listen with your kindness and an open mind. Each story shared is authentic and vulnerable. Let's embrace our differences with empathy, knowing every voice enriches us. Together, let's cultivate a community of respect and curiosity. Thank you for listening. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired.
Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast, everybody. Today it is Melissa and I, and we are introing for our Earth Month. If you watched the video or didn't watch the video, catch this again. Melissa and I. I'm going to keep that in the edit. We are introing our Earth Month episode, and just in case you don't know, we made sure that we talked for about 40 minutes before we actually started talking about Earth Month and our intro to it. So there's a reason we run a podcast together. It's because we can talk for forever, and you're welcome.
I love it.
I love it. We're giddy.
I love it.
Yeah, you love it. I'm going to talk over you for a sec.
Yeah, go.
We are so excited to do Earth Month. Like, honestly, it has been on our hearts since basically the first year that we started this. And it's just taken us some organization and figuring out, because first off, every month is Earth Month. Every month is every month in terms of like all of the awareness things should be of value and highlighted all the time, but it's just not possible. So obviously having one day a year that you can dedicate to raising extra awareness around something is awesome. We are doing a whole month for it this month, and we can't wait to share the episodes that we're recording and have recorded for this month with you. But today we just wanted to talk about why this month is important to us, why we want to do this, where our hearts are at it, and probably just have a little bit of banter back and forth. Bit of banter back and forth. Say that a couple times fast. Bit of banter back and forth. Bit of banter back and forth. Peter Piper picked it back and forth. Bit of banter back and forth. I'm keeping this in. And banter back and forth about different things that we do in each of our lives to try to do better for the planet. So, yeah. Hey, Melissa, just talk for forever. Welcome.
Hey, yeah, hi.
Hey, yeah, ho.
Hey, yeah, ho.
Hey, yeah, ho. Okay, Melissa, I know you were really fired up to talk about this. So what is the first thing on your brain that you want to say about Earth Month?
Okay, well, first of all, yes, I am very excited about Earth Month. I'm just excited, and there were some things that came up when we were, when we've been recording that I'm like, ooh, I want to talk about that, but I don't want to take any space away from our guests. So I was like, this is a banter. Because there's just some things that I wanted to kind of just go back and forth about. One of the things I wanted to talk about was like, I wanted to go back and forth with you and with the pen. I wanted to go back and forth with you and talk about like, what do you do in your house? And I want to talk about some things that I've shifted and some mindsets that I've shifted that I feel really good about. I'm like, I feel really good about them because they're tangible and they're easy and they're not overwhelming, because it can get super overwhelming. Like you start looking into this stuff, I'm like, my goal for this Earth Month mini series is for us to share positive stories too. Like we're going to be sharing stuff in stories and we're going to be making posts and stuff, and we want to share some good news stuff too, because it can get really daunting and overwhelming. But let's talk about things that we do in our house. So I'm going to share one with you, and then I want you to share one with me. Is that cool? Am I putting you on the spot? Okay, one thing that I started doing, I just had a squirrel moment because I had another thought as I was going to say this one. But one thing that I started doing is I stopped buying paper towel. I know it's a very small thing, but it's a mindset shift. Like we used to always have paper towel all the time. And if we ran out, I was like, oh my gosh, we're out of paper towel. What do we do? And one day I was just like, there are solutions. We don't actually need it. And if it's not in the house, I'm not going to use it. But if it's in the house, I'm going to use it. So I just stopped buying it, and we've come up with solutions, and it's been great actually. And there's only been a couple of times when I'm like, oh shoot, paper towel would have been really good here. But we just, we don't use it anymore.
Paper towel. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, I think that it's just little steps, right? Like it started with little steps for me. And, honestly, like I didn't really start to the extent that, I mean, I feel like I always tried my best to do things and I was aware of stuff, but honestly, it wasn't until I was on Instagram in 2020 that and probably not until 2021, or at least later in 2020, when I started realizing all these accounts that brought more attention to it, because I know we've said this on one of the recording episodes we did, but you just don't hear it talked about anywhere else.
Yeah.
The news isn't talking about it. If you're reading newspapers, they're not talking about it. In school, they don't talk about it. Like, they talk reduce, reuse, recycle, but this isn't literally taught anywhere else unless you go seek out these websites where people are teaching about it. You don't, or you're reading a magazine, maybe there's magazine. I'm sure there's magazines that talk about it, but you literally have to search it out and to find this information. So if you're not searching it out, if you're not liking posts about it, if you're not on Instagram, if you're not seeking out, you do not know. You do not know. And you think that recycling everything is just the best that there is, and it's not the case.
So that was a big shift for me. Sorry, I interrupted you. That was like a big like, oh, what? Like, we're so ingrained in us in school, like recycle, recycle, recycle. And I'm not, by any means am I saying don't just put it in the trash. That's not what I'm saying. But like, still recycle. But like, that was one that hit me. I was like, oh my goodness. Anyways, keep going with your thing, and then I've got a mountain thing to talk about. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm getting to the paper towel thing in a sec. But so there's all these little things that like I didn't really think about because no one talked about it, and I want to talk about this more. And I even noticed, just from me talking about it, not on our podcast, just in life, that people are like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. And I'm like, I know you didn't think about it because I didn't think about it, and I didn't think about it until I saw it on Instagram, and literally nobody talks about it, and I want to broaden this conversation to everybody, because AJ and I were talking about this the other day, is like, even if climate change isn't real, let's side with the people who say that it's a hoax and it's fake. Cool. I'm going to agree with you for a second. What is the harm in pretending it is real? Please explain the harm to me. And now if you're going to go off about oil and gas industries, let's just take a little look about the research going on in other countries that have actually completely shifted how they supply electricity to their countries. Right. That's just in like the Western world that we think that we need oil and gas as much as we do. We do need it. I'm not saying get rid of it entirely, but like, just like, there's so much that we don't know because we don't know because we shut it out.
Right. And I think it's so easy to shut it out for two things. It's so easy to shut it out when you like start opening. It's like you open up the cupboard door a little bit and you're like, too scary. But like, the thing is, like, this whole climate change thing, I mean, we could argue whether it's real, whether it's not, to the cows come home. Listen, let's just park that subject for a second, okay? Because we're not going to change anybody's mind. Do you want to go walking down the beach and just walk through plastic? Who cares? I mean, people care. We should care if climate change is real or not. But let's just park that for a second. Just look at that. If we want to say who cares about climate change, do you want to sit on a beach full of plastic? Is that fun? Because it's kind of just gross. Like, whether you believe in it or not, probably should. And that like brings me to my mountain thing I thought about the other day. I was watching that. I'm probably going to butcher how they say it, but it's Sun Guy Watch. Is that how you think it's said?
That's what I would say.
A company in Bali who their whole goal is they clean rivers before the plastic gets into the ocean. And they've created these buoy systems where they have these traps along the rivers, and then they go and they clean these rivers up, and they clean beaches along Bali. And then they also sort it out and they make furniture out of plastic and all sorts of things. It's really, really cool. And I love watching them. It's so satisfying to watch them pick apart these rivers and clean them up. And they do all these like aerial views about what they're doing. And it's so cool. And I thought the last time I was watching it, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I was watching this reel and watching them clean their beaches. And they had this massive, they had a big problem in December. Just this past December, they put out this thing. They're like, we need help. This massive, just like insanely massive amounts of plastic just washed up on the Bali beaches. And they were like, no, they could not handle it. It was like all of a sudden this big shift happened, and this great big like island of plastic washed up on their beaches. And the country band together, and they all, like, they had volunteers from all over the place. They had volunteers that were there on vacation and ditched their vacation plans, who just came and helped clean up plastic. And there's all this stuff happening. And I thought, you know what? So interesting to be here in the prairies and when you start talking to people about climate change and about eco-friendly and stuff, and some people will roll their eyes at you. And I think, you know what? We love our mountains here, and we're pretty damn fortunate that we live where we live. Our tune would change pretty freaking fast if the amount of plastic that just washed up on the Bali beaches were to somehow be soaked up by a cloud and it just dumped into our mountains. We would change our tune really freaking fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't be about climate change, and it wouldn't be about our paper straws, and it wouldn't be about our plastic bags and all of this stuff that we're so inconvenienced by trying to make a change about. It would be about, holy shit, we're out here trying to enjoy our mountains and go for a hike, and we're walking through feet of plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're so lucky that we don't have to deal with that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So but that does not excuse us or exclude us from trying to make small changes that can make a difference. Like, we can still shift small things. I am not saying turn your friggin' life upside down. One tiny thing at a time. I stopped buying paper towel, and it led to another thing, and it led to another thing. Just little things. We are not ripped off right now. I don't feel inconvenienced. I don't feel like there's just little things that you can shift, and they do make a difference. It's better than feeding the mountain of plastic. Like, small little shifts. Anyways, there's my rant. Go.
No, you're good. I was kind of going on a further rant, like from where you started with paper towel, but
yeah, I did.
I was just circling back because like that's why it's important to me, and those small shifts happen. And I wanted to just say like where this started for me, because it's not where it started, but it's kind of where the bigger shifts started happening. Paper towel was one for me. Like I don't think I always had paper towel in the house, because I also never had Kleenex in the house. I was like, well, I can use towels and I can use toilet paper for Kleenex. But I know that there was a period of time when we did start paying paper towel more often. And I remember like part of it was like storing paper towel in a small house is the most inconvenient thing. Like just like if you live in a small house, storing paper towel, because you have to buy it in, I mean, you can buy twos, I guess, but you buy it in bigger things, and then you just have like this storage pile of paper towel until you run through it. And anyways, and so we stopped using paper towel a long time ago, but it's like that's what towels are for. And I mean, like, I keep it in the house now, but it is like I have one roll, and that one roll probably lasts for the entire year. And I use it for things like when I pack my kids' lunches. I have not purchased completely waterproof lunch kits. And so if I end up packing like a sandwich in one part of their lunch and strawberries in the other, if I don't cover that sandwich in paper towel, the strawberries leak and they won't eat their food. Now, I've put it in baggies too and like tried to block it. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So like it's not always it's just something that's an option. But yeah, I don't use it either. And it was a while ago that we stopped using it, because it's just like that's what towels are for. Mm-hmm. However, that being said, it's one of those arguments is like, well, is it better to use paper towel, or is it better to do the loads of laundry?
True.
I don't know.
True.
I don't know.
You know what? I was just finding I was using it on stuff that you're not, like, it wasn't. I don't think I'm actually doing that much more laundry either, to be honest. Like stupid things that, like, a little spill on the counter, tea towel it up, and I'm still doing the same amount of laundry. You know what I mean? Unless it's something really gross. But that's where it's like, when it gets into gross stuff, that's where I'm like, oh, I kind of need the paper towel now. Like, that's where it kind of goes.
Yeah. I have a line. I will not buy reusable toilet paper. I'm sorry. I'm out.
Toilet paper? Oh my God. No, thanks. No. Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-mm.
You know what? Smart someone who does, just can't do it.
Mm-mm. You know what is smart with you, though, that I've noticed? Your paper towel is not easily accessed either. No, it's not like on the counter ready to go. It's like you got to find it to use it, which I think is great. Yes. It's great. Anyways. Anyway.
Yeah, it's tricky because there's so many things you don't think about until it's brought to your attention, and you're like, oh, that is.
And then it's hard not to spiral, right?
Oh.
Like, it's hard not to spiral into, like, what some people would call extreme and what some people would call their normal. I don't know. But, like, it's hard not to spiral and feel crappy. Like, I prefer to fill my content with, like, the inspiring stuff and not to get sucked down a rabbit hole of feeling so doomsy about it, because we're still on this planet and we can't solve all the problems. I can do my best. I can make some shifts. I can try to, you know, I loved like I don't want to give too much away, but Talena was talking about making her kids, like helping her kids to fall in love with the planet, and that was step one. And I was like, that was so inspiring for me, because I thought, yeah, heck yeah, instead of just like learn this stuff, it's teaching them to love the planet, and then they're going to want to take care of it. I think that is just so genius. And I think that's where we can start too, right, as adults. But just making small shifts, I think, is really tangible, and it just doesn't have to feel extreme, and it doesn't have to feel like scary.
Yeah. Can you think of where learning to love the planet started for you? Can you think of
Yes.
when?
Right away. I can, yes, immediately tell you that answer.
What?
My mom was a gardener, and I didn't go to daycare. I spent the beginning part of my life strapped to her in a garden. And we also went hiking and camping, and my mom was a scouter. And so she's like survival guide expert. You want to know something about survival stuff, she knows it. And yeah, like there's pictures of me in a wheelbarrow full of rhubarb. I think I told you about that, and I would keep wanting to find the picture and show it to you, but
You've showed it to me.
Have I?
Yeah.
And then and there's pictures of me like strapped like in the old school baby carrier. Actually it was somebody made my mom a papoose, like a First Nations beaded beautiful thing, and there's this picture of me as like a brand new baby in this papoose, and she's standing in a garden, and like right, so we were always out, and she's still very vocal about being outside. And you know, anytime I'm sad, she's like, have you been outside today? So like it's always been a big part of our world to get outside and be outside and play and get dirty and explore, and all of that stuff was always a big part of our life. We were not big screen people. Like we were kind of, it's funny, like the things that you grow up with that you think are just the worst, and now it's like, oh, that was actually pretty great. You know, like we weren't big screen. No, we did have TV, but like I'm trying to remember ages, but like we had TV, but like our TV day was Sunday. It was like family dinner, and then it was Disney would play a movie. So it was like Disney or Road to Avonlea or something. Like we would watch after it was Sunday was TV day. And like when I was little, I remember watching French cartoons. Sometimes I would take a break from the garden and go down to the basement at my grandma's and watch some cartoons, like French Sesame Street. But like for the most part, we were outside quite a bit. And my parents were always also like the weird recyclers. Like my dad had this recycle shed. I know I've told you about it before, but yeah. Anyways, so, and my mom is also loathes waste. Like if there is a woman that can make something out of nothing, it's her. Like she cannot handle food waste. She grew up not well-to-do, and there were times when things were really tough for them, and they never wasted food, and thus she doesn't waste food. And it, I think, hurts her heart anytime she sees food waste. So she really works hard to not, and also waste of anything else. Like she was always very vocal about like, use what you have, get creative. That's just how she is. And I think that just kind of instilled all that stuff in me. So it just went on a really long tangent, but
no, I love it. I think it's a great answer, because I was like, I think about where it started for me, and now I'm gonna give a whole backstory for this here.
Tell me.
I have a girlfriend, and she's part Native, and she loathes the movie Pocahontas because it gives a very bad representation of the actual story. And I'm like, it's so interesting to me because I love that movie. And yes, it does give a very bad representation of what actually happened in the story of Pocahontas. It does whitewash that story and romanticize it. And it absolutely 100% agree with you. 100%. However, I knew every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. Hit my soul when I was a kid. Like I had Pocahontas pajamas, and they looked like her outfit. And I used to try to walk around with her like her. And I was like that one, not like her. She's a person. But there was this one scene where she would like when she's like kind of like crawling towards to check something out. You know, when she like I would do that around my house all the time because I wanted to be Pocahontas and be one with the earth. Like I just, and I know that that's not the premise of the story, and I know that there's so much more of the Pocahontas story. But as a child, I didn't care about the romance with what's his name, John Smith, but the oneness with the planet that watching Pocahontas taught me,
that's so cool.
was huge for me, and I wish I could be like I was in the earth like you were, but I wasn't. I was much more of a TV kid, growing up in my household. But
did you watch Fern Gully?
Yeah, Fern Gully too. Fern Gully, yes. Yes, Fern Gully. Also, like watching, like, but you're destroying the trees. Like, yeah, totally. Those movies just hit me. Like, those are the ones that were like, we need to respect the things. If it's not, if for no other reason that we don't let the evil oil dude out of the tree. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you will only know that reference if you have watched Fern Gully.
Yeah. And it's like, but yeah, those movies were, and I mean, Pocahontas came out in 1995, and so like I was 6 years old. And like and honestly to this day, like I still in my mind believe that all of the things have a spirit, have a life, have a spirit, and have a name. We just don't know it.
Yeah.
And so that's where it started for me, I think, because I wasn't, and I'm not saying that my parents raised me to not respect the planet. It just wasn't on their radar. It wasn't on their radar to teach me about that kind of stuff. And I don't mean that in judgment. It just wasn't. So I definitely learned it from Pocahontas and Fern Gully. And from a very young age, I was like loving the planet. And even, like I remember, I don't know, I can't remember when, but I know like for my whole life, seeing developing areas of towns has made me sad. I remember behind my mom's house where I grew up, our backyard used to be farmland. Like I remember when there was cows in that
you
land.
Do?
Yeah, I do. I remember because there was like I could go out and there was like our alley and then a row of houses and then it was farmland. But there was a piece of it that I could walk before I got to where the cows were because I could go grasshopper hunting in those trees out in the grass there all the time.
Whoa.
And like so now it's restaurants and a grocery store and it's like so sad and depressing and people are like, High River's a small town, and I'm like, not
as small as it used to be.
Not as small as it used to be. You know, like also Sunshine Lake. I remember when Sunshine Lake was just a mound of mud. Like I used to go catch frogs in the pond that was there before it was before it was Sunshine Lake, you know?
Yeah.
So it started, absolutely. I know it started when I was little. Because I remember, again, in elementary school, when they started recycling, I remember, like, you could dedicate your lunch hour to going to help recycling once a month, and you'd go to the classrooms, you collect the bottles. It was just bottles and cans, but, and I was like, sign me up! I will absolutely be part of recycling the cans when I am in elementary school. Like, I was jacked for that shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too, totally.
Yeah.
It's funny, hey, looking back at that. But I was like that with development too. It's such a weird thing because it's like, oh, exciting, but also I want to puke. It's bringing in money, but I want to puke.
I remember when we learned about Indigenous cultures in school, like going to Head Smash and Buffalo Jump and things like that. And I always remember thinking like, why don't we still do it like them? Yeah. Like what they used, we have a hard time finding evidence of because it goes back into the ground. And our shit doesn't go back into the ground. Like the earth is so much better when we take care of it and respect it. Like they did such a good job. And we fucked our shit up. And I remember thinking that as a kid.
Yeah, totally. That culture has a really beautiful relationship with nature. And it is really something that is, this is so understated here because we could have a whole series just on that. So I don't want to pay disrespect by saying too little, but also just, it is just incredible when you start learning and you start, when you remember going back to places like that and when you hear people speak about nature like that, it is something that is so cool.
anyways, that's a whole
Yeah.
other topic. That
Whole other one.
whole other one.
We're on a different month.
Let's put that in September. We're on Earth Month right now, so let's circle back to Earth Month. Yeah. So there's so much I think that we could have learned that's when it started for me, was definitely as a kid. Same for you. But it was so small. All I knew what I could do was recycle and reduce and reuse. But I was the same as your mom. I am to this day, that I want to use what I have. I don't like to buy new shit. Like I will, in order for me to buy a new thing, like I bought myself a new pair of jeans last week.
I saw
they
that.
They are from Value Village, and they fit perfectly. They're everything I wanted in a pair of jeans. I needed anyways, but it took me. My daughter is 7 years old. I have not had a proper fitting pair of pants since my daughter was born. Well, since I was pregnant with her, basically. I had a pair when I was pregnant.
Sammi.
They were maternity pants. And I had one pair of jeggings that I bought after she was born, because I was like, I need something that's not tights. I should say that's not true. I have two pairs, but one's for when I'm heavier and one's for when I'm after. For my typical. And but they were both jeggings, and I wanted a pair of jeans, and it took me so long because my husband has all these jeans that I have in my basement right now that don't fit him, and they've got a hole in a weird place, and I'm like, can I make these fit me? Can I turn these into girl jeans? And
no, no.
The amount of times I've Googled different ways that I could maybe do this, and finally was like, I can't fucking do this and make it look good. And 7 years till I finally gave in to buying a pair of $13 Value Village jeans, because I was like, I just can't recycle these jeans.
I love you. Okay, so I need to be if we're gonna be full honest, I'm gonna be full honest, okay?
Yeah.
I love to buy stuff. I love new stuff. I love used stuff. I love shopping. I love it all. And so this is a bit of a contrast, and it's hard because I don't want to give up buying things, but I also am starting to learn more about what consumerism has done to our planet, and I'm also starting to learn it is unbelievable to me that our generation that grew up with reduce, reuse, recycle, and it was such a big thing for us in school. I think we've been the worst. I think if we look at generations, I think I could be wrong here. I should look up the facts. I am not. This is me spouting my opinion of what I have seen. I have no factual basis on this. That's going to make you crazy, Sammi. But I think when you look back at stuff, I think the last 20 years has probably done the worst amount of damage because we are so consumer driven. It is unreal. And I am part of that problem. I will full on admit it. I like to buy things. I like to sell things. I like to, but so there are ways though, for the people that are I don't want to give up shopping. I don't want to give up jeans. I don't want to give up. There are ways to do it, and there's ways to find balance. And some of that is knowing where your stuff is coming from. Some of it is if you can flip to buying, go check out a consignment store. Man, you guys, it is unreal how much stuff is in secondhand or consignment stores. And if you're not if you're oh, I can't go to Value Village, you should just give it a try. Don't put your nose up at that. Give it a try, but start small. Go to a consignment store. Find a consignment boutique that feels nice when you walk into it and doesn't make you feel dingy. Start there.
Has change rooms.
And has change rooms. Start there and see how you feel. And if you can just if you're a person that likes to shop, make yourself a challenge to go, okay, still like to shop. What are the things I like to shop for? Can there be a more eco-friendly option to what I'm doing? So, for example, if you are, I don't know. Okay, here's my example. I like to buy new things, and I like to decorate my house, and I like all that kind of stuff. But I also love finding things that are made out of other things or making things out of other things. I love DIY shit. I love it when I find out somebody has made I was just going to say toothbrushes out of flip-flops, which sounds horrible and disgusting, but
Maybe not.
they make stuff out of everything. It is so cool. Like that Sun Guy watch, they're making lawn chairs out of the plastic that they're picking out of the beaches. There are ways to still love shopping and support your e-commerce and support your local artisans and also be supporting the planet. There are ways to do it. So like just saying, I like to shop is not enough. You can also find something else. There are ways, and I promise you, it doesn't have to be extreme, and you don't have to feel like you're, missing out on something, because there are ways to do it. Sometimes it's about making those small little shifts, and little shifts turn into big shifts, right? I started buying consignment because I was working with Becky, and so that helps. So I was working at Pekisco. I am working at Pekisco, and it has shown me a whole new side of consignment. And I love it. Like and this is all stuff that would end up in a friggin' landfill, which makes me angry. Like this stuff is still good quality and it's beautiful and it just needs a different body. Give it another life.
And I think a lot of the problem is that, like, you're right, the last like 20, 30 years has been the biggest problem because our parents' generation was the first generation where things became easily accessible, but most were still taught in the mindset of fix it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like your stove's broken.
And we're the
fix
buy
it.
Another one generation.
Buy another one because but that's not entirely our fault because because things used to be fixable, and now if you break a piece, if you break something in your dryer, the guy will come to fix it, and he's like, you know what, like for me to fix this, it's going to cost $400. A new dryer is $500, and it's like it shouldn't cost that to fix it. Do you know what I mean? Like those parts should be, I mean, obviously it's depending on what the piece is, but like you should be able to fix things, but they don't make things to be fixed anymore. They make things to buy a new one. And so like that's not a consumer problem. There's only so much we can do with that. For sure. You're right, because not just partially because our generation became the stuff with readily easily available things, and partially because stuff isn't made to be fixed, so you can't fix it. And also because I grew up, every other generation prior to us grew up as a whole. Obviously, this is not household specific. This is society as a whole. Is like broke people shop secondhand. Poor people buy from secondhand stores.
I was that.
If you get
I was that broke girl.
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, my family, let me correct. We didn't have money. But one of my parents was very statusy. And when we were small children, we got secondhand. But once we got older, we couldn't be seen in secondhand. And as a child, because I grew up with that, I also could not be seen in secondhand. Like it was like appalling to be in secondhand. Became an adult living on my own. I remember I had friends who shopped secondhand. And I remember like my one girlfriend's like, oh, I love thrift shopping. And I would go to the store with her, but I think I bought my very first secondhand item. Like I would go to Value Village to buy Halloween costumes. No problem. Go make Halloween costumes out of stuff.
100%.
Yeah. But I think I bought my first like dress from Value Village with that friend, and because she loved it and she was like, I secondhand shop all the time, like it just makes sense. And that she grew up with the mentality of like, absolutely, it's just a great hers was about the purchase side of it, not the environmental side of it. Yeah. And even then I still wasn't convinced on secondhand shopping because I hadn't seen the environmental side of it. I only saw the financial side of it. But I don't now I can't, every time I walk into Value Village, I want to be like, I want to bring everybody that buys my children presents in this store with me. And I want to be like, look at all of this stuff that already exists out there. Now, I recognize the stuff in Toys R Us and the other stores also exists, but buying that tells that business owner that you need to make more of these because they're being purchased. Not buying that. If everybody said, I will not buy from Toys R Us this year, I will only buy from Value Village, guess what's going out of business?
Yeah.
Toys R Us and many of the companies that supply products to them. So like your shopping dollars have that. Anyways, I'm on a whole tangent of secondhand purchases, but like it took me a long time to get to valuing secondhand clothes. And it wasn't until I was on Instagram that I actually saw it, because I was like, the financial piece wasn't enough for me. It had to be the environmental connection.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm the same with a different background. Like I was the girl in the hand-me-downs, and I remember being teased about my hand-me-down clothes. And I actually remember this moment of like I was so excited that I was getting these like bags of clothes from this really cool girl. She was a teenager and she was super cool, and I got all these hand-me-downs, and I was so excited. I went to school the next day wearing these jeans with like leather in the pockets.
Yeah.
And I got teased mercilessly about these hand-me-downs, and I remember just being gutted. And I think for me then that kind of turned into wanting to buy new, because then I felt, like as I was a young adult, then, I was like, I felt better about myself buying new, because I thought that that's what adults are supposed to do. And I thought that, I felt good about myself doing that. And I'm not saying you should never buy new. I still buy new sometimes. Like I just bought a pair of jeans from Courtney's sister's studio 2 days ago. But I think that like I said before, you can balance it. You don't have to go full extreme. You can balance it. I bought that pair of jeans, and I'm going to wear those pair of jeans until I make them into a blanket or something. Right? Like I'm not just going to, and I'm not going to buy something willy-nilly. I don't know, maybe I'll wear this, maybe I won't. Then I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah. If
I can't give it life, then it's a no for me.
Yeah.
And I think when you start seeing the images on Instagram of the mountains of textile waste, that will make you want to absolutely throw up. It is, again, we are just really lucky. And I think the reason why we're not louder about this over here is because it's not in our face. We're not affected by it yet. And God,
the lions need to come eat our face before
just really terrible. But and like it's tough, because you don't want to not support. Like we live in small communities. I don't want to tell people not to support businesses. Support businesses. Find ways to support those businesses. Absolutely. Just find ways to offset your footprint as well. So like I'm not going to sit here and say don't ever buy anything new. But offset your footprint. Don't take a bag. Only buy it if you can actually really use it. And when you're done with it, don't throw it in the trash. Right? Like those are some simple ways. Those are some simple ways that are kind of a first step into this world of just thinking about your purchases a little bit differently. And, like just think about it a little bit differently and make other shifts also. And it will grow. That will come with time. And if you go to your stores and tell them that you're interested in this and in different products that are more eco-friendly, or upcycled products, then maybe your local stores will start carrying that stuff.
We always think my voice doesn't matter, but the thing is if everyone decides their voice matters, then it does matter. And for me, like I was not a shopping don't get me wrong, I like shopping, but I was very much any purchase was mulled over for a very long time before I made a purchase my whole life.
I've not been like that.
I just refuse to buy new when I have one that is there. And so like I'm the opposite of you in terms of spending, but then apply that to adding my knowledge about environmental things. And now it's like, I don't need anything. I don't need anything. And AJ's
take it back.
AJ's like, okay, but sometimes you do actually need things. But even if I buy something at the secondhand store, Melissa, even if I buy something at the secondhand store, I'm like, but if I buy that at a secondhand store, somebody else can't buy that at a secondhand store.
Oh my God. No.
Oh yeah, it's a mental.
Sammi. Oh my gosh.
Buying things is not my forte.
Oh my God.
Anyways,
it is fine.
That's off my. That's off it. So this is a whole way. All of these things that we're saying here. Maybe this sounds like just a big ramble, and you've totally tuned out of our talk. But maybe like this is all reasons that we've become passionate about wanting to talk about this, because number one is all of our knowledge that we want to help, that we've learned, that we want to help you learn. It's all the things that we've shifted, and all of really this is all encompassing things we've shifted and things that make us passionate about why we want to shift it. So let's turn the back to things you've shifted in your life.
Okay.
I'm going to say one and then you go. So
Okay.
you started with the paper towel one.
Yep.
And purchases for you.
Yep.
Mine is, I used to see pictures and people would post their Instagram and they'd have these like really lovely looking cupboards and everything's in mason jars and it looks really beautiful. And I was like, who the fuck is spending their time going to the grocery store to buy these things that come in bags and pouring them into mason jars just for the prettiness of it? Like, it's already in a fucking bag. Like, who is doing that? You're doing that. I know you're doing that. I'm fully well aware. But that was my take on it. Is like, who gives a shit about how nice their cupboard looks? Like, it's a fucking cupboard. That's all right. And then when I learned, some people are going to Bulk Barn and refilling these lovely mason jars, and that makes their cupboard look pretty. I'm like, oh, that makes sense to me. I'll do that. It's less plastic. Absolutely. I'll have a pretty cupboard if it's coming with environmentally friendly alternatives. So that's when I switched to doing all things at Bulk Barn. When I was like, oh, I can get all that shit at Bulk Barn.
It makes sense.
I never thought of that. Oh, are all of those people doing it because they go to Bulk Barn? And I'm like, no, they're not. Many of them are doing the pretty thing and buying it from the grocery store and switching it. But then I was like, oh, now I get pretty cupboards mostly. I mean, that's not true. I reuse my peanut butter jars. So they're like, some of them are mason jars, but otherwise they're just brown jars with green lids. And everyone's like, what's in this one? Oh, laundry detergent. What's in this one? Peanuts. What's in this one? Oats. What's in this one? Popcorn kernels. Like, I try to label them. It doesn't work.
I was just going to say you need a label.
I mean, I write on them a marker, but it comes off when I wash them. So anyways.
If anybody has a labeler for Sammi to borrow, that'd be great. She's not going to buy a new one.
But if somebody else needs that, give it to them.
Oh my God.
I got a pen. It works just fine.
Oh my, does it though?
Well, sometimes.
Has anybody eaten laundry detergent today?
No.
Oh my God. Somebody get the Skrilla labeler. That is so
Pretty
funny.
is not my forte, all right? That's why Melissa is here. And this is also why we need this lovely balance of our relationship. Pretty is very much Melissa's forte. And well decorated is Melissa's forte. And talking about, like, if this was just me having this rant about environment, I would just like, stop buying things, people. Just stop buying things. And we need your balance of like, it's okay to shop. Let's just figure out how we shop environmentally friendly. We need your balance, Melissa, because I'm crazy.
Because I'm crazy. I think it's good though. I think like the thing is, it's very easy to, not very easy. Well, it depends on your personality, right? It does.
No, I'm stopping it with, it's very easy to tell people to stop shopping. This is very easy.
Well, but like, but then it is, and then it is also on the flip side of things, like coming from somebody who likes to shop things, somebody just coming at me and saying stop shopping, I'm gonna get defensive, and I'm gonna keep shopping.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna encourage me to learn about what I can do to support the planet at all. And also, I know that, like, I work with businesses, and I see how that can hurt businesses. So it's tricky because you also don't want to hurt the small businesses around you. But that's why I was saying, like, you know, there's balances, there's ways, but I think like, I think that if somebody comes in and just, if you think that extreme is the only way, it's very easy to shut the door and just not do anything. Yeah. It's very easy to be like, I can't do that. Yeah. So I'm not going to. Yeah. I don't have a Bulk Barn that's close to me. I can't do it. But there's still ways to do it. You just get curious about it. Like I think that's the best thing. That is the best thing, is just to get curious and look at it, check it out, and see if there's ways you can shift things around.
Not only ways you can shift things around, like, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Figure out how there's ways that you can shift things around, but also kind of like when we were talking to Sarah, is figure out the way that it is valuable to you. So like for me, secondhand shopping wasn't enough to convince me to secondhand shop just on the financial savings, even though I'm cheap as shit. For real. Finding the thing that is valuable to you, finding the value for you, how that aligns with your values. Like when we were talking to Sarah about figuring out, like, for me, it wasn't enough for me to switch my shopping habits for the financial shift of secondhand. But learning that secondhand is better for the environment was a big enough shift for me to make that change. Maybe for you, buying secondhand is not a big enough change for the environment. Maybe fiscally it is. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe
Yeah.
the fact that sometimes you can find really great things that are of high quality brands that are still in really great condition
Yep.
at Value Village, because there are rich people also putting their stuff to Value Village, I tell you what.
Yeah.
Or just different consignment stores, right? Like maybe it's
Yep.
about finding that unique piece that nobody else has. Maybe you
Yeah.
love having this unique piece that nobody else is going to have.
Totally.
Maybe that's your reason to switch your shopping
Yep.
habits. So like
Yep.
there's a way that you can find that doing better for the environment actually is better for you too, not just
Yeah.
in like it aligns with your values. So like another one is we all talk about not having time to get exercise in more often, not having time to whatever, but like for some of us this is impossible for everybody, but we drive everywhere even when they're short distances. Well, guess what? It takes you 5 minutes. I'm just making this up here. This isn't applicable to everybody, but it takes you 5 minutes to drive to the grocery store. You have to go to the grocery store anyways. Can you walk or bike there?
Yeah.
Now you're getting exercise in, and it's better
Yeah.
for the planet. You're saving yourself gas money. You're
Yeah.
saving the planet. You're getting better exercise for yourself, and you're not contributing to the gas to get there, like the emissions. So like there's a win-win-win-win-win. You know,
Yeah,
but so
totally.
sometimes it's finding the thing that actually motivates you to do it.
To do it. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think it's important to know that you can, once you start learning about it and getting curious about it, it's endless, and there's so many cool things out there. Like that's why I really want to highlight some of the cool stuff, some of the good stuff that's happening, and some of the really exciting ways that you can make shifts and still feel really good about it. You know, Easter's coming. I just saw this little thing about this. Did I show you that? This lady's making Easter eggs, like for the Easter egg hunt, out of fabric. And there are these cute little fabric Easter eggs that she fills every year and hides them. Easter Bunny still comes and hides stuff, just not in plastic eggs.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Never would have thought about that.
You got to send me that. That sounds awesome. Different. Tell me something else that was a switch that you've made.
Oh, you know what I did switch out is I'm not buying liquid hand soap anymore. I'm buying barred soap. And I'm like, gosh, why do we get away from barred soap? And I think like it's easier for the kids to rub the liquid hand soap like to get it off. I'm just teaching my kids to scrub their hands a little bit more, which is fine. And I'm going to just give it a try. And I saw this thing I was showing you. Actually, I saw this thing. It was like a Instagram thing or something where somebody took up like a water bottle lid and they shoved it into the soap and it sticks in the soap, and then the soap sits on the lid, and then the soap doesn't deteriorate into your soap dish or the counter or whatever because it's not sitting in any sort of water. Like it's enough to just raise it up just a tiny bit that the soap doesn't deteriorate as quickly.
And your counter doesn't get as gross.
Yeah, it's been great. I love it. It's like a fun little hack that I tried out, and I've really liked it. So I've switched. I only have one bathroom now that has liquid hand soap. And so I've been doing that. And I've been trying to buy more in bulk as opposed to like, I found that just when I started shifting my mindset into like, can I do this and use less plastic? Can I do this and have less waste? Like I started just asking myself these questions. And so like, oh, my laundry detergent. Yeah, I can do that and have less waste. I can buy a bulk container. I buy Attitude, which is a Canadian eco-friendly company that I really love. And they have these I still don't love it because there's the plastic bag inside and I don't know where that goes. Like I don't know if it actually gets recycled or if it doesn't. But it is less plastic than a big jug. And they do also sell larger jugs.
It just takes more organizing and more, like it's going to be one thing at a time. You shift your cleaning products. So all of our all of our household stuff comes from a refillery. So now there's no more cleaning bottles. There's no laundry detergent bottles. There's no dish detergent. Like the amount of bottles that you, like I really wish I wish I had kept a bottle for the month. Like I just kept everything so that when I actually had shifted everything over, I could just be like, this is the counter full of boxes bottles that used to go in the recycling every month. Now every month it's 2 things. Do you know what I mean? Like, cause it's a huge difference when you change it, but it took us a long time to get there.
Yeah.
A long
That's
time.
so rad. I just found out we have a refillery in High River. And
You
I'm
do?
going to go check it out. Yes.
Where?
I don't know what all is there, but yeah, it's right next to Margins actually.
Oh, the bookstore.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to go check it out. I'm
Yeah, you
excited
should.
to check it out because that is something that that's in my brain right now. I'm like, oh God, every time I see another jug, I'm like, "Wah."
It's hard because you have to be organized to, you don't want to be going there every week because you're
All the
running out of
time.
stuff, right? You
Yeah.
want to go and fill and then have, and especially for where I started, the first place I was going to was downtown. It was down in Inglewood.
Oh my gosh.
And it was
Ugh.
the only one. And a new one just
gosh.
opened 10 months ago. That's like a 10-minute drive from my house.
Oh, thank goodness. That must have been such a relief. Hey.
Well, I've only been once. I just discovered it like a month ago.
I think that wherever you're at in this, there's always something that you can pick up that's kind of fun and exciting. And, like, I think also it's important to not bury your head in the sand too much too. Like, to find the balance between like all you're consuming is scary environment stuff and you're not seeing any of it. There's a balance in there somewhere.
Totally.
Yeah, there's some scary shit that goes on and you should check it out. Just so you can kind of motivate yourself to like, it is our duty. We are living on this planet. It is our duty to take care of it. Period.
Yeah.
So like, if you're not,
Oh.
I just think it's cool feeling the domino effect happening is really cool too. But something that I wish that somebody would come up with is like, remember we were talking about subscription boxes and the grocery subscription box. I have a grocery subscription to HelloFresh and it's making my life a lot easier right now. And I'm not ready to give it up at this point. But I wish that there was a better option. Like if there was a refillery for it or something of that nature that would do the planning and the prepping and the organizing of it, like that part. I wish that there was something like a local one that would bring it and it would be in refillable containers or something. I don't know. I've been thinking about it ever since we had that conversation about it. I'm like, gosh, I wish that there was somebody that would do that locally. I was finding I was wasting a lot. I was wasting food. I was wasting packaging. I'd want to find a recipe. I'd want to try a new recipe. Like, hey, I want to try this new curry thing. And then we buy the sauce and everybody hates the sauce. And now I've got a jar full of sauce that's going to waste in my fridge and stuff like that. Like, so I will say the amount of plastic waste with it is horrendous. And that is something that I would change. But food waste, I don't waste food anymore. Zero. None. I used to waste food for sure. My mom would churn at the stuff that I used to waste because we would go to Costco and fill the fridge full of Costco shit. And then the fridge is so full, you don't see anything in the back until it's gone to waste. And then you're screwed.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my rant on
I
that.
want to make you feel better about that though, because I was talking to somebody who does a lot of research on this and I asked, because they do HelloFresh boxes, and I asked like, and she's also very environmentally conscious. And I said like, have you looked at the math of like the plastic that's created from that versus the food waste that's created that's not from that? And she didn't do the math herself, but she was reading an article about it. And apparently like because the stuff in grocery stores still comes packaged and wrapped in stuff and it has to be shipped by masses to get there. Doing these smaller ones actually has less, like doing HelloFresh actually has a lesser impact on the planet.
What?
Than shopping.
Oh, that does make me feel better. Thank you.
You're welcome. I haven't read the article.
Making my meal yesterday and I was like, oh, there's so much plastic. But
yeah, this is hearsay. I'm just telling you that what someone else told me, but
that's really interesting.
Apparently it is. And like they claim it's better, but it's like there is still all this plastic that comes from it. And so it would be, if there was a way for them to do it in refillable, returnable containers or biodegradable containers, because biodegradable packaging exists. They have to make it food safe and sealed biodegradable, which is the tricky part. And I mean, I say tricky. I don't know. I don't actually know. But so if those things came, those things would actually be way better.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Can you imagine if there was like a place you could go and like, here's your meals for the week. And then you just bring back your washed containers.
Right.
It would be awesome.
Like
it's
going
not
back
a
to the
largely scalable business because I don't know how you would do that on a large scale, but on a community basis, It would be very cool. Cheesy. And then I also found the prices of groceries. I was getting so anxious every time I was in the store. Like, and not that I don't go to the store. I still have to go to the store for stuff, but I'm not anxious when I'm in there now. Like,
because it's so much.
I was just absolutely, I would leave and I would just feel like absolute shit. I was angry. I was like, I'm angry at the plastic that I see. I'm angry at the prices. I was like, I'd go into the store and I'd be audible. Like, I look at this package of strawberries and I'm like looking around. Is anybody looking? Am I on fucking candid camera? What the hell is going on? Why is this package of strawberries $15? I was just absolutely, I was just a bag. And it is true that I have way less waste. And I'm the kind of person, I'm like, ooh, I want to try that cool Indonesian dish. But then I go on Pinterest and I get the recipe out and I have to buy all of the things that go in it. And then whether we eat that, when are we going to eat it again? And now we have all the sauces. And then I find another recipe I want to try, but the fridge is already full of all the sauces from all the other recipes. This way I can try a new dish every week. And I'm not wasting anything. I don't want to end on a negative note, but you know what I think they're going to look back on us at history?
What?
Like the history books are going to say, these effing reusable bags.
Oh my
they're going to
God.
look back on this and I think they're going to be like, I think they're going to feel like how we feel about smoking on airplanes. Like, what the F were they thinking with smoking on airplanes? What the F are we doing with these freaking reusable bags everywhere? Like, there's way more waste. And guess what, folks? It's made of fucking plastic. Like, we're not using less plastic. We're actually using more. And they're trying to convince you that you're using less plastic. But how many times do you go to the grocery store and, oops, I forgot my bags? Oh, it's okay because we have these cloth ones. But how many cloth ones do you have? There's so many of those cloth ones. They're going to be full of, and the landfill's going to be fucking full of them. Every time I see those, I'm like, oh, they're going to look back at us and think we were nuts.
I know. They make me angry too. And like the concept, when it first came out, I was like, yes,
good.
The concept is good. Reusable bags.
Yeah.
If everybody remembers to use their bag. Now, what we should have said is you got fucking bags at home. Go get a bag that you already have at home. Start reusing it. Don't rebrand all your Superstore ones. Those are backup. Go get your brand bag that you already have from wherever else gave you a bag and use that one. And the fact that every store just gives you a bag. Like when I'm like, no bag. They're like, what? I mean, not at a grocery store, right? But at like a clothing store or something. And when you say no bag, they're like, but why? And then like, because I have a fucking billion of them. Do you know what I do? Because people give you things in bags all the time. And same thing, right? I bring those cloth bags. So whenever I get my produce, I don't use the plastic things. They go in those cloth bags.
Smart.
Yeah. And the grocery store person just looks in it and they're like, yeah, okay, that's what I'm weighing. And obviously I do have to pay for whatever the weight of the bag is, but I just buy the smallest fucking bag.
That is so smart. I don't use the plastic bags either. And I just like, well, I'll just wash it when I get home, which sounds disgusting. And it is, but.
It depends on what it is. Like if I'm getting like 2 peppers, I'll just put them in. But if I have to get like a bag of potatoes or something, like obviously I'm not just going to carry 20 potatoes. Yeah, for sure. So they're going to go in the bag. But
so I don't.
The other thing I do.
just realized how spoiled I am. I was like, oh, right. Bag of potatoes. We grow them so
you go through the farm, yeah.
I hardly ever buy potatoes. I was like, wait, what do you do? Oh yeah, they're okay.
Yeah. Well, I planted this big garden this year that I'm really jacked to grow all my vegetables in this year. Anyways, that's gonna be awesome. But we'll see how it goes. I was successful with spinach last year, so I think if I can at least get spinach, that's good because then I can just store it in my freezer for the winter, and because I eat a lot of spinach. Anyways,
perfect.
What I do with all of my bags is every time I try to keep them all in the same bag, and every time I go into the grocery store, I bring literally the whole bag of bags with me into the grocery store. And when I'm in line, if the person in front of me says I need a bag, I say no, you don't. Here's a bag.
Oh, you rock! You're the best. That is so good.
Because I have a billion bags.
So smart.
And I know that person has a million bags at home. They just forgot one today.
Yep. That's so smart. And I've done it. I'm not gonna sit here and preach on my soapbox and say I don't forget bags. I always forget bags. You know what else I love? What?
Finish your story. I'll tell you after.
I have some of those bins from Superstore. And I love those too. I have like 3 or 4 of them, and you just go into the grocery store with the bins in your cart, fill the bins up, and then fill the bins back up and it makes hauling the groceries around easier, and I freaking love them. I love them.
Do you know what happens when I forget a bag? Do you think I buy a bag?
No, you haul it all out, don't you?
I do. Pockets, purse.
Pocket. Stick it down your
My wallet
shirt.
can go in my shirt. Fill the purse with all the things. Absolutely.
I actually did that the other day leaving the grocery store, and I'm like, "Hey, Harper, you got to help." We forgot our bags, and we had Band-Aids in both pockets. We were carrying.
And people are like, I'll just give you one. I'm like, no. It is not about the money. I can afford the 84 cents. I do not want the bag.
Afford the 84 cents.
Do not tell.
With that cloth bag.
Do not
Stop
tell
offering them.
Whoever supplies these bags to make more of them. I refuse. I will wrap my shirt up in an apron, and I will carry them this way, and it will be fine. I will make it to the God. And if I have to put them in something else and come back, I will do it. I will not take another bag. I refuse.
Good for you. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I think we should wrap this up. We've been ranting for quite a bit.
You don't think people want to keep ranting about environmentally friendly things? I'm pretty sure everyone wants to keep going.
I do. I'm really glad that we had this chat anyways, and I'm really excited for this month. I'm glad that we're finally doing it, and I'm excited to put out some like feel good stories about it, and also some little tips and tricks, and introduce everybody to some really cool people we've been talking to. I'm stoked.
Same. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. To help support the growth of this podcast, please feel free to leave us a review, follow us on socials, or recommend us to your friends. Your support honestly means the world to us. With love, Sammi and Melissa.